On an island surrounded by the ocean, its inhabitants display great resolve when it comes to gathering food. Crossing great distances on land and diving into the great depths of the sea. Among the ancient lands and seas, through the ages of ever-evolving circumstances, the islanders' taste for flavors have developed into a unique style of cuisine, into what is known as island taste. Dating back to the 1300s, on the island nation of Japan, a sea creature, covered in spikes, made its way onto the dining tables of the islanders. Its distinct sweet and savory flavor makes quite the impression. For the next 700 years, sea urchins have become an important part of Japanese cuisine culture. Tsuchi Island is a small island located in the East China Sea, home to only 80 households. With the strait acting as a natural barrier, traditional fishing practices have preserved and have continued to flourish here. At the end of March, the weather begins to warm up. For the fishermen on Tsuchi Island, the following 2 months is the only chance for them to harvest the most prized catch of the year, the purple sea urchin. Whenever local fisherman Yuya Nakamoto heads out to sea, he brings along his trusted partner. Today, they have decided to try their luck in a new territory. Soon after arriving at the location, Mr. Nakamoto prepares for the dive. He secures a 10-kilogram weight belt to his waist that will allow him to quickly sink to the seabed, roughly 3 to 4 meters below. It's not easy to locate the sea urchins. The seabed is densely covered with thick grooves of sea kelp, while the sea urchins are usually sheltered between the crevices of the rocks 3 to 5 meters below sea level. Their feeding habits vary. Their diet mainly consists of algae and worms. They hunt mostly during night, moving at speeds of 10 meters per hour. It takes a sea urchin 3 long years to grow to the size of an egg, with some capable of living over 200 years. For each dive, Mr. Nakamoto can only remain underwater for short periods of time. All the work must be done within a single breath. The water-savvy islanders of Tsuchi have no need for oxygen tanks and continue to practice this traditional form of sea diving known in Japan as raw diving. Through the repetition of surfacing and diving, Mr. Nakamoto slowly builds up his collection of sea urchin. The amount of effort and risk that goes into catching each of the sea urchins is what reinforces the Japanese concept of sea urchin supremacy. After returning from the catch, Nakamoto always keeps a detailed record of the catch location of the sea urchins.
あとはほらそこを潜ってウニがおるとかおらんとか自分で見て、あ、ここは場所がよかけんか取ろうかで地図にポイントマークを入れて毎回そこに行けるようにしとくっていう感じ。
Luck is on their side today. They harvested a full basket in less than 2 hours. 2 months prior to spawning season, large amounts of glycogen begins to build up within the sea urchins. It is only during this time of the year that the purple sea urchins develop their unique, sweet and savory taste. With the golden particles closely intertwined, each of them is wrapped in an armor-clad shell, but within it is a sweetness that is beyond description. This small creature hiding among the seabed is the reason why fishermen put in their effort, and what keeps the chefs continually asking for more of. About 300 kilometers from Tsuchi Island, in a port city known as Fukuoka, fresh seafood is hauled onto shore year-round. Its traces can be found all throughout the city, attracting diners from all over the world throughout the year. Mr. Ideguchi, head chef at a high-end hotel restaurant, has more than 20 years of experience in traditional Japanese cuisine. In recent years, with an increase of international visitors, he has begun integrating Eastern and Western cuisine with his apprentices, attempting to create a fusion of Japanese and Italian cuisine.
半面だけいく。で、そのまま。
For Ideguchi, the key to creating the perfect fusion between Japanese and Italian cuisine is to locate the sole ingredient that charms the diner's palates.
お客さんどれが合うと思うこの器に対して。
やっぱ今と桜の花を散らすっていうのがいいと思いますけど、どうでしょうか。
ウニが天草はウニがとっても有名だから、このうちの漁師さんが何%ぐらいなんですかね。
そうですね。半分以上が漁師ですよね。
やっぱ6割7割ぐらいは漁師さんが、結構家がしっかり大きい家が多いから、昔からやっぱ漁師さんやってる人とかが多いのかなっていうのを思うんですけど。
今年の紫のウニの調子はどうかな。
ね、ここすごい細い道が。
In early April, the cherry trees bloom throughout the island nation. Early in the morning, Mr. Ideguchi takes his apprentices to the only island in Japan that has quick access to seasonal sea urchins to inquire about this year's harvest. In early spring, the purple sea urchins make their annual debut at the seaport. This is the nation's highly anticipated first harvest of purple sea urchins after the long winter.
今年はちょうど育ちの時期に大きな台風が来た。
良くなかったんですね。
Unfortunately, a rare Pacific typhoon swept across the area half a year ago, undermining the seabed ecosystem. As a result, this year's harvest of purple sea urchin is only a third of previous years, making the high-end catches even more expensive.
うまい。で、その香りがすごいですよね、これ。はい。
To welcome a group of guests from afar, Mr. Ideguchi decides to purchase a batch of the freshest purple sea urchins. Most sea urchins do not require a complicated preparation process. Among high-end Japanese cuisine, sea urchins are mostly served raw, highlighting the nuance in the flavor of the varieties of sea urchins. But raw, a method that delights diners solely with its ingredients, seems a bit plain for Mr. Ideguchi. That's why he's always experimenting with new recipes. Today, Mr. Ideguchi decides to use 10 different fresh ingredients to complement the sea urchin. For the starter, chopped Chinese yam and okra with hosta buds are placed within a special cocktail cup. The green base will serve as a foundation for the sea urchins. And a crystal clear jelly of condensed shrimp sauce is poured on to heighten the flavors of the ocean and create a sense of dimension. The sea urchin quickly melts into a semi-liquid in the mouth. The mellow yet thick sea urchin sauce is tightly wrapped with the mucilage of the okra. The contrasting flavors of sea and land collide, offering a unique blend of taste and texture. The way Mr. Ideguchi sees it, sea urchin is more than just an ordinary raw ingredient. Its essence is more like a sauce, and the spoonful of the right sauce can change the trajectory of the whole dish. Served in traditional Japanese sushi bars. A dish of sea urchin covered rice, topped with a raw egg, a splash of soy sauce, and wasabi, was once globally popular. Similar to the combination of sea urchin and a grain, Mr. Ideguchi's take on the combo is more liberal and open-minded. The mushrooms, asparagus, and mountain yam are sautéed with the pasta. When the stock is reduced, it is topped off with sea urchin. As the ingredients are infused, the end result is that the sea urchin transcends into a fragrant yet subtle flavor within each grain.
天草の紫ウニのリゾットでございます。
Mr. Ideguchi's experiments and new discoveries surprise not only himself, but also the diners, offering a flavorful beginning to a whole new year. Over the years, the restaurant rarely closes early, though no matter how late Mr. Ideguchi gets home, he always has time for a simple late-night snack.
できるよ、もう。盛り付けるけん取り来て。はい、いただきます。
Japanese-style spaghetti, created by Mr. Ideguchi, has never been on the table in a high-end restaurant, though it remains one of the most popular dishes in his family. It is perhaps only Mr. Ideguchi who can best accommodate his two sons' tastes. Fukuoka is a sprawling port city. The food in the city seems more diverse and inclusive. Only 2 months of the year, the purple sea urchin reached the height of their ripeness, and a large number of restaurants offer the delicacy during this season. Old Shanghai is a Chinese restaurant that opened in the commercial district of Nakasu. Mr. Liu, the head chef, is a 51-year-old Shanghai native who has spent many years abroad. He is a stickler for Chinese tradition and maintains a strong passion for tradition as well as innovation. With the start of the sea urchin season in April, he is inspired to try a few new sea urchin dishes. Most Chinese restaurants in Japan have a simple dish that is popular in high-end restaurants and even has a place in the fried food section of convenience stores. Spring rolls have made their way across the ocean to Japan, where they have become a national favorite with a variety of fillings. But the sea urchin flavored spring rolls are a rare find. In Chef Liu's opinion, to make a good sea urchin spring roll, you must ensure that its center is hot and soft with a crispy skin exterior. crumbling upon first bite. Sea urchins are delicate and melt quickly at room temperature, but harden instantly under high temperatures, destroying their freshness and sweetness. Born with a delicious but fragile natural flavor, sea urchins keep most chefs from cooking them at high temperatures. After much trial and error, he soon discovered the secret to cooking sea urchins over fire. Insulate the skin from the filling. That is, heat the pan twice as hot as usual and sprinkle with a layer of scallions to temper the heat. Under the guidance of Chef Lu, his apprentice quickly gets the hang of it. Turning the spring rolls in the hot oil against the clock, the skin is a golden yellow, and he decisively picks it up. The hot oil encases and solidifies the outer layer of the sea urchin. As plain as the spring roll looks from the outside, it is a food imbued with the wisdom of the chef. In one bite, the juicy sea urchin releases a rich flavor, while the crispy encasing skin and scallions aroma delicately combine to create a unique balance. In Chef Lu's hands, sea urchin may sometimes be shyly hidden in prosciutto, and other times stand out by itself in warm coconut milk. Again and again, his intuition helps to uncover the flavor through mixtures of hot and cold. Although Chef Lu is leading life in another country, he continues to uphold the traditions of his hometown. East and West, although are separated by thousands of miles, but with a cup, Mr. Ideguchi's finesse makes them seamlessly connected between the sea and land. Mr. Nakamoto commutes back and forth year after year. These two chefs are inspired, each with their own wisdom, to strive in unison for the migration and integration of cuisines from different lands, with extraordinary culinary creations made on every dining table.